Hello everybody and welcome back to another new vlog. I'm back in my usual park, as you can tell. Same park I'm always in, to be honest with you. But today, just for a change, I decided to take a slightly different route through the park. And I just want to concentrate on just one edge of the park that I don't very often go to. It's been a good few months since I was last in this area, so I thought I would come back and capture a few shots here. But as I've started to walk along, there's just a small area along the edge of the path, which isn't really woodland, but there's just a line of trees just along the path. And it's off to the side of the path, about 20 yards from the path that I would normally walk along if I was walking along this route. So I've kind of stepped off the path into this little patch of woodland, and I've found this area here just behind me, where the trees seem to provide a natural line through the woodland. And as I was stood here looking, what I noticed was that the bright sunlight that we've got now at the beginning of November, which is also very low on the horizon, is providing these very interesting dappled light effects as the light passes through the trees, and it's giving quite a nice interesting light that I'd like to try and capture. So I'm going to get a couple of shots here, and then I'll carry on walking along this section of woodland and see what else I can capture. So I found myself in an area where there are all this woodland with these trees behind me, and what I'm finding is that the light coming through these trees is quite harsh, quite strong light. But it's a very dark area. You can't really tell how dark on this camera, but it is quite a dark area. And I want to capture a shot somewhere in this area here, which is quite abstract, of all these very thin, tall trees all clumped together, and probably capture a portrait shot of that. Just at the base of these trees, there's quite a lot of foliage, which is holly. And I want to try and capture that right at the base of the frame and use two quite thin, tall trees as frame for the image. So that could be an interesting one. I don't know how it's going to work out. It is very abstract and it's something I wouldn't normally shoot, but I just couldn't help myself when I saw how the light looked on these trees. I know I've said this many times before, but it's always worth just having a look around at your scene just for a few moments before you actually try and take a shot. The previous shot I was trying to take over in this direction, I decided didn't really work as a composition. I took it anyway. It was a portrait shot, but it didn't really seem to work when I looked at it on the back of the camera after taking the shot. So as I turned round to my left, what I noticed was there's another area just here of sunlight coming through the trees, and as it comes through it dapples the foliage on the ground here, and that looked a lot more interesting, and you could see the haziness of the sunshine through these trees along here. And I thought that worked much better as an image, so I've taken that shot as well. That one is going to be a bracketed image, because I've shot that at f/22, which gives me a very large depth of field, so I can get a lot of that all in focus all at the same time. But also I've shot it at 1 second, half a second and 2 seconds, so I can try and make the most of the dynamic range here. There isn't an awful lot, but what there is quite amazing, because you've got that sunlight which really contrasts well with the darker trees. So I'm going to try and make something of that with a bracketed image, and we'll see how that one goes. Right now I'm stood in an area of woodland that I've been to a few times before, as I said, but I remembered of course that just a few hundred yards in that direction there's another area of woodland which I quite often go to, and I haven't been back to that yet this autumn. And that's always great for autumn colours, with the leaves that are lying on the ground and the space that you've got within that woodland. But also then, just a little way ahead of that further on again, probably about another 150 yards from there, there's another woodland that I sometimes go to, which I also haven't been to yet this autumn. So I'm thinking that I'll probably go and do those last two sections of woodland and then make my way home. So let's make my way over to the next one now and see if I can find a couple of compositions there. Just been trying to work out exactly how long it is since I was last in this woodland. I haven't actually shot this woodland at all before now using my Canon EOS RP camera. Now obviously I bought that in June of this year and we've just tipped over into November, so it's been a good few months since I was last here, but it's an area where I quite often come back to anyway. Now the reason I've come back into it because it changes completely from one day to the next really, but as soon as you change seasons it changes very, very rapidly, so you get very different images every time you come back here. Now I've spotted a tree just behind me lying on the floor, which makes an interesting point of focus at the front of the image, or just in the front third of the image, and then as you go slightly back from that you've got trees further back framing the image nicely, but also there's this dappled effect of light on the orange and brown leaves on the ground here, and that makes for quite an interesting shot. But we've also still got some greenery in the foliage as well, so that kind of really contrasts well. There's lots of different layers of colour and texture here. So I've taken that shot now. That's a focus stack shot because there's quite a lot of depth here and I'm having to shoot at f4, which obviously is a very wide aperture, but it gives me a very shallow depth of field, so focus stacking is the best way to go here. I'm going to move on to the next woodland now. It's only about 150 yards away and I'll see what I can find in there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be pleased to know that I've done it again. I've stepped in something I really didn't want to step in, so that's keeping up the gold standard for these vlogs. I've come to this little spot here. You can see behind me this very gnarly bit of tree that's fallen, and it's all kind of been eaten away by the various elements and the animals within the woodland, and it's left this very gnarly bit of trunk just lying on the ground, and that looks great. But I've also got various trees either side of it which provide an interesting leading line into that image, and as well as that you can see some of the dappled light on the floor in front of me, and that at times is catching the this bit of a mouldy tree here. So I've tried to capture a shot of that. I'm trying to capture the dynamic range of this one again, so I've shot with an f22, meaning that I can have a very large depth of field again, which is good, but also it means that I'm shooting at 1 second, half a second and at 2 seconds, so that I'll combine those three images together and hopefully end up with a higher dynamic range of the image. So I'm going to leave it here I think for the day. I'm going to have to find a puddle somewhere so I can wash my shoes on the way through, but apart from that, if you've enjoyed this vlog, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again on another vlog very soon. Bye for now.